Hello, 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 hello. Welcome to another episode of CAV HQ Live. I am your host, CAV Boss. I apologize tonight, or maybe not. Maybe it's not something to apologize for. But I have a camera that is acting up. So it was one or the other. So I figured you'd rather see what I was working on than look at my face. So that's what's going on tonight. This is the Badger drop ship. I've been working on it. I'm trying to get it ready for AdeptiCon and some other things. So as I'll work on this for the next hour, people show up, ask questions, etc. We'll work on that as well. If not, I'll just I may not talk very much, but I'm painting all these little vent holes or whatever here. So I maybe not got the best angle for you to see, but you kind of got an idea of what I'm doing. And me being Mr. Shaky anyway. Luckily, on these MDF kits, when there's a line, a cut, where you're painting, it tends to kind of keep the paint inside those lines. So our luck out there. Obviously, this would have been easier to do before it was put together, but you really couldn't get it all painted the way you wanted it if you did it in pieces. So, I couldn't anyway. But as I noted, I'm getting ready for AdeptiCon. It's this last weekend of this month. It's in the Chicago area, if you're not familiar with it. It's become kind of the de facto big miniatures show. They originally started out really Warhammer 40K, and then 40K kind of dumped on them, Games Workshop. So they switched more to other miniature games. But they're back in bed with Games Workshop, so we'll see how all that goes. But it is what it is. It's a fun con. This will be the fourth or fifth time I've gone. But I'll always have a good time, regardless. We will be, and if you show up at the deal and you're like, oh, where the heck is he? It's kind of a weird deal. So let's see. We went in 2019, it's the last time that we went. And of course, everything kind of started showing up about COVID. And we kind of already had a feeling that 2020 was not going to be a big convention year. So we did not sign up for AdeptiCon 2020 because I figured the show wouldn't happen. Well, what ended up happening is they didn't have the show, but they had all the existing dealers reserve their tables and pay for them. And I didn't realize that they were doing it that way. So we didn't get a table. And of course, there was no show in 2020. There was no show in 2021. So when it was time to get a booth for this year, all the booths were sold out because of the way it was done. So Reaper always goes, and they have a big 4-booth, 6-booth island, something like that. And they were not planning on having as big a presence this year there at the show. So I made an agreement with Reaper to take 2 of their booths so that we would have space and go to the show. Well, as lo and behold, Reaper has decided not to go at all. So I have received the whole booth allotment, even though I don't have that big a space that I normally fill up. So we're going to have plenty of room, I think. But we will be where it says Reaper Miniatures. And then next year we'll get our act together and be back in there. And I'm sure Reaper's planning on coming back. There's just a lot of stuff going on that they just weren't ready to get back on the convention circuit yet. And Bone 6, their next Kickstarter's kicking off this month. So, well, welcome, Doc Costick. Yeah, time zones can get you in trouble, for sure. Well, welcome to the show. I'm working on the Badger dropship and just kind of mumbling about getting ready for AdeptiCon that we've got coming up. Yeah, it's got quite a ways still to go. I got it just kind of passable to bring to Genghis Khan, and so I'm trying to finish it up for AdeptiCon. I also decided I really wasn't wild about the way the missiles had turned out color-wise, so I popped them out of there. Luckily, I know a guy, so I was able to get some replacement pieces, so I didn't tear it up too bad getting them out of there. Always helps. But then I printed out some new ones. Now, last time when I did these, I did them with the resin printer. And I hadn't been doing a lot with an FDM printer. So this time I did them. I've got my Prusa kind of dialed in. And I'm kind of not visual tonight with my face, which may be a good thing. One of my capture cards decided to crap out, so I got one camera or the other. So I figured probably the camera that I'm working on would be the one to show tonight. So I'm here, I'm talking, and you just don't get it. But anyway, so here are the new missiles ends that I printed out with my FDM printer, and I'm pretty happy with them. They turned out pretty good. I think I did them at 0.10 layer height, and which is kind of a detail setting on the Prusa. And I think that once I spray them with some filler primer and then put another paint coat primer on top of them, I think they'll be fine. But I had done the first ones and I painted them red and white. And I really wasn't as wild as I thought I would be with it. So rather than, and it was hard to paint them anyway, so I just decided to redo them. So I popped out the front panel. This one I had to pop out the top one too because I had to cut some parts out of it to smooth it out. But the other one popped right out. So I've got new missile pods, and hopefully I was messing with my sound setting. Am I sounding okay? Am I too loud? Et cetera, et cetera. If I am, let me know. So anyway, so I've got new fronts for where the missiles. Okay, good. So I'm going to get these in. I'm gonna get these missiles painted before I put them in this time, but they'll go back in there. So I'm real happy with how they're turning out. But these are going to be green and yellow is really the colors that I want to go. I'm either going to do the tips green, I may do them black, or I may do them silver. I don't know, I'm still playing with them. But the bottom part's going to be green, and then the here under the edge will be yellow. And then I'm still working on what I'm going to do with the tip. But I'm going to get them all painted before I'm gluing back in this time. So now the other thing that I'm planning on doing, again, because of the way this kind of all came together, is I'm not going to have any scheduled events at AdeptiCon that are like in the book or whatever. My plan is to bring the desert setup and run a game Friday and Saturday night. I'll put some information up on the Facebook, and of course, once we're at the show, we'll tell everybody, because we kind of have to go to the open game area and pick a time, and probably start at like at 8 o'clock or something like that in the evening, 7 or 8 o'clock, and play for 4 hours. But so I'm trying to get all that in. But one of the things I have been wanting to do for the desert board is have like a little, the edge of the town, or because it's got the big pyramid base in the middle of it. And if you're not familiar with it, you can look on Facebook. I think there's pictures of some of the different parts of it then. Well, I'll probably have it set up next week here on the show, so because I'm going to be working. But one of the things I needed to start printing my desert buildings for my town, city edge, whatever. So I've got a bunch of them I got printed up. They're not primered or anything yet. I'll show you better shots of them here in a second. Unfortunately, the desert sci-fi building, thanks to Star Wars and Tatooine, everybody kind of has a look for desert buildings now. So I tried 2 or 3 versions for desert buildings, but it was hard for them not to just look like sci-fi buildings. So these are actually a guy that I know, that I've talked to before, Wake's Emporium, and he sells stuff I think he's on Gumshoe. But these are they were 6 millimeter scale desert buildings that he's done. There's several different types, and I've made some modifications to the files too. But these are the start of the houses, the settlement units or whatever. Of course, he had said they were scaled for 6 millimeter. I scaled them up. 6 millimeters should technically scale up to about 150, 160% to get 10 millimeter. But I think these were a little bigger than maybe what he thought, how he scaled. So I scaled these up 125%. And when I put an infantry figure up next to it, it turns out pretty good. These are probably harder to see. They're kind of this red material right now once they're primered, but the stuff is kind of silky, so it's got kind of a sheen to it. But you can see, that's what sucks when I don't have the other camera. Next to the Starhawk 5. So that makes them scale-wise about right where I think it needs to be. When I put it up against infantry figures, it looks right on. So I've got those. I didn't bring any infantry up here with me, but here's one next to a tank. So I'm not going to have a lot of tall buildings, I don't think, with it being desert. So most of these will be, level 1 type buildings. there'll be some taller ones too, but not a whole lot. But these are the ones I've got so far for the desert board. I'd like to have an area. I'm thinking that this is going to be kind of I don't know. Yeah, no, definitely when I get them painted and they're not red, they'll look a lot better for the desert part. One thing I would like to do, I don't know if I can do it or not. I've got some textured paint, and I would like to spray them with that textured paint to give them a little rougher edges. The problem is when you spray that textured paint, it gets on everything. So I'd have to try to tape off spots where I don't want it to go on, and I'm not sure how easy that'll be. So it may not happen. But I think at this scale it'll probably be all right. I mean, it's got a little bit of texture from the 3D printing, but some of these, like I said, I've got a few that I'm adjusting to make them taller, and some different designs too, but staying kind of in this look that he's got. Like I said, it turns out everything ends up being like Star Wars or Tatooine, but yeah, possibly. Just that textured paint, it's like, it's a craft stuff that you can spray like on vases and stuff to make them look, give them texture. So I don't know. We'll see. If not, after I primer them, but I'll give them a nice Adobe yellowish color. But I'm real happy with how they've 3D printed. So I've got another batch on the printer right now. All right. Set those over here for now and get back to painting the little, hey there, throw that dude right out. I made up my mind if I'm going to just set them where they just can sit on the board, or if I'm going to put little bases on them. So anyway, all right. So right now I'm painting these little vent spots here inside the deal. I've got a kind of a black wash that I'm putting in there. So my plan for this is, after I get this part done and some other spots where I want some black in there, then I'm going to come back and where some of these panels are and stuff like that, the small access panels, I'm going to do a few of them in a little lighter gray, a little darker gray, to break up the deck a little bit. That was a trick, especially in Star Trek. They call it Aztecing, where they go in and use browns and stuff, all kinds of different colors on tiles, and it breaks it up because they never did like the plain gray look. It didn't film very good. So I want to kind of bring my version of that in on my ship. But after I get all that done and a few details painted here and there, I'll spray it with some dual coat Oh, well, I'm going to put some rock numerals on it. I'm just going to cut those out and make me a template or a mask that I can lay on here and then just spray over it with white. So once that's on there, I'll dual coat the whole thing. Hi, Elmarin, how you doing? And then I'm going to, before I dual coat it too, after I get all the paint on, I'm going to use some black powders on it to give it a little dusty, dirty look more so. And then dual coat it to seal everything in. Put some little silver shiny spots in it for where it's got beat up a little bit, and maybe a little rust running water liquid here and there on it from sitting in the starport or on some rainy planet. And then at that point, it'll all be done. Or as done as I'm going to do. I'm not going to really worry too much about the bottom. It's not really ever going to be seen, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the bottom. All right. Painting those little squares suck. And I don't mean maybe. Well, whose idea was it to design this thing? All them squares. It'd been a lot easier to paint them before it was all put together, but that really wouldn't have worked either. And me and Mr. Shaky here. I'm not sure how that's going to work on that one. You have to try to come at it a little different angle here. That's why I'm basically using, I think this is black ink and some water mixed up because I want to keep it kind of washy looking, and it helps keep it in the lines when I'm not able to paint as accurate as I want. It kind of flows into the area that I want it, and the lines around it from the cutting kind of keep it where it needs to be. We hope. I'm sure that if you got down and looked at this with a microscope, you'd find out how crappy I did. But like I was saying earlier, if you make it to AdeptiCon, I plan on, I'm going to have the desert board set up Friday and Saturday night for a game. Whoever wants to show up and play or watch or just ask questions, I will. That's going to be my Friday and Saturday night gig as of right now. But if you haven't noticed, I did put up the convention schedule for the rest of the summer. I think we've got one every month except October now. I think the only show that I'm left to confirm with, which I'm not worried about, is NashCon. We did confirm our space at Origins, so we'll be in Columbus. I went down the list, and there's other places that I'd love to, other shows that I'd like to go to, but man, about one a month is all I'm able to do. So with driving, and the Columbus one is June, I think. You'll have to double check. I've got the date up there on the Facebook page, but I guess I could look it up here. Let's see here if I can get to there. Actually, I put it up on the forums too. Origins is June 8th through the 12th in Columbus, and it is confirmed. It still says tentative on the deal, but anyway. So June 8th through the 12th is going to be Origins. And we'll end up doing the same thing there that we're going to do at AdeptiCon. We'll run a game in the evening, probably Friday and Saturday night. Origins being the show that it is. The minute they hear that you're wanting to do a show or a game at the show, they want to make you pay for a table, as opposed to just saying, hey, go play at this table. So they make me pay for a table, which they charge a manufacturer $500 for a table. And then they charge for it, charge the people for coming and playing at it. Kind of like, if I've already paid $500 for a table, do you really need to collect that money from those people too? I don't know. But they have open tables, so like I said, I can be at the booth and tell everybody where we're going to be. Or, hopefully, I haven't seen the event book. If people show up that are running CAV events, then we'll just show up at their events. it can be daunting. We had 2 or 3 people there at the beginning, because we've sold 70 or 80 of these guys, at least. And, a couple of people right there at the beginning got theirs up, but I hadn't really seen any since. I'll probably do another one. I had an idea for one that I wanted to have kind of a red, but I didn't get that wild on this one. Yeah, shocking, he says. I'll tell you what, I wanted to paint some, and maybe I'll get to them. I haven't got these started already on painted, but and I'm not really trying to get political or anything like that, but I thought that painting up some in blue and yellow, kind of the Ukraine colors, that there's probably a pretty cool paint job in there for a CAV. I've had 2 or 3 ideas for it, but I just haven't got to it yet. Yeah. Well, it's kind of the way I looked at it too. It's going to be a cool scheme no matter what with those colors, but I'm definitely going to have scorch marks and battle damage on this one when it's all done. I'm sitting here painting these because of WVU. Yeah, well, there's all kinds of not as perfect as I would like, but not bad. Like I said, when I get it all dusted up, it'll won't matter that it's not dead on. Good thing about not seeing my face tonight is you don't have to see me squinting or my tongue popping out. I'm bad about my tongue coming out when I'm painting, when I'm concentrating. I just look angry when I paint. Yeah. I don't know. That's maybe how I look. I don't know. I know I get to squinting and my tongue comes out onto my top lip and my youngest daughter's been staying with us in between. She's looking for a new place to move into, and she's been watching some older movies. She watched Blade last night with Wesley Snipes. I hadn't seen it for a long time. Yeah, she, when I got home last night, she had turned the TV on and was queued up Blade. Oops. It's one I just hadn't seen for a long time. That's a big slip. Let's see if we can get that cleaned up right quick. I don't know if it's a classic, but it's not a bad show. It'll be interesting to see how the new one turns out. I think they got a good guy to play him, so. All right. Almost have this side done. That's scary. All right. Mount Vernon's are always, I like purples. Purples and greens always is a good. And then the rock, you can just get as crazy as you want because they want you to see them coming in battle. They're a good example I always tell people is go look at the German planes in World War I that flew as part of their flying circus. That's how I imagine that the rock. So, like I said, garish, bright and garish for the rock. I mean, I guess if you really think about it, purple and green is probably pretty garish too, but. But I see the rock with lots of oranges and yeah, purple and green go together really well. But the rock, I reds, oranges, yellows, purples, even with them. I mean, like I said, they are like to be known. You know, and each CAV has kind of their own look to it. Probably not as uniformed as the other factions would be. I know that on one of the CAV book pages, Ross Hines painted up some that he did. That are really, really good. That he really, really went into that flying circus look with them. All right. Gets that side all in and done. So many little squares. Well, always my go-to rock is red and black, and then some white striping. If you have one of the rock data cards, the quick start rule cards, that comes from, that's my original rock paint job. Is where that's from, and I always have liked that look for the rock. I've also seen some people take that same scheme and instead of white use gold, and it looks pretty badass. So anything else anybody wants me to cover tonight before we run out of time, or any kind of questions in general, or? Yeah, bronze and red would look cool. I'm really planning on this Saturday working on this a bunch more, so hopefully I'll have much more progress to show off next week. Because I really want to spend next week working on desert board stuff. If you're kind of late to the show, I was showing off some of my buildings that I've got for my desert board that I'm going to be working on. I've been wanting to put kind of a village or a settlement, I guess is a better word, kind of on the outskirts or, maybe the edge of the town around the military base there where the pyramid on the mountain is. But I should have all that out next week. And hopefully have my other camera back up and running once I had to order a new capture card. Because apparently mine went luckily, the one that went out's my external one, and I've been wanting to put another card in my computer, so that'll work out okay. This time of the year, we have a lot of grass fires out here, and last Saturday, we had a fire out here on the west side of town that burned up the local cable company, their relay station or whatever for bringing internet into town. And it got burned up, so everybody's internet went down for 12, 16 hours, and you would have thought that it was the ice age had hit. I thought we were going to have a revolution on our hands. People went nuts not having no internet. I was out here at the shop working when it happened, and I got home and I broke out a DVD and watched a movie, and then got out a book and read, and then went to bed. But some of the things people were putting on Facebook and stuff, so I thought they're going to have a lynching or something over it. I was like, come on, people. They were supposed to have it back up and running by 9:30 that night, and that came and passed, and still no internet. And oh, it's funny stuff. All right, we're down to the last 5 minutes, so. Yep, no, I will be back next week, 8 o'clock Central Time. Yeah, this month. The only one I'm going to miss will be whatever the last Wednesday, the 21st or the 22nd, because we'll be on our way up to AdeptiCon. So, but yeah, no, next week we'll see you then. Hopefully we'll have a little more progress to show off here. I'd love to get this thing done before next week's show. We shall see. Do. Well, thank you tonight, everybody that showed up. Hopefully we'll get our audience built back up again. I have a feeling my tongue is probably black at this point. Probably not the best idea to be licking on your brush when you're painting with ink. Oh, well, it'll wear off. Do. All right, finish this one up here. All right, folks, that's going to do it for me for tonight. Thank you so much for being here. As always, CAV on. And I will see you guys next week. As always, if there's something you want me to cover, make sure, post on Facebook, get on the forums or whatever, give me a heads up. I will try to have everything in place for you. And next week, hopefully I'll be further on this, and we'll start working on some more of the, get more of the desert stuff set up, get the board set up. So anyway, have a good night. As always, I will see you next week. Take care.